All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to continue where we left off with more Chapter 4 Monster AIs. I put a note inside of my to-do because I want to address one just very subtle unit testing condition that I really want to get. So we have a condition here that says we need to check for an expiry time with blank slots and gaps in the effect system. So what does that mean? If I go over to our unit test project and we go over to effect tests, one thing we didn't do was try to intentionally make some kind of gap inside of our array and then check for expiry times among everything. So, for example, I'm gonna make a new one. Check for gap in expiry times. Right? Okay. So essentially, what's gonna happen? It's let's say we have 50 effects loaded into our game, but let's actually skip one of these. So we're only not going to do a very, very specific one. So we're actually going to say, do all these, but if I is equal to 40, slot 40, then we're going to continue in our loop. In other words, we're going to ignore number 40. That way, there is a blank slot in there somewhere. And so what we want to do is... Wait, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because we only check for alive times when the entire game's effects are full. So what are we really checking here? I was thinking like, okay, so we might have a blank slot, so we don't know what to replace, right? But we have to have a full list in order to replace things that, or to even compare the alive time in the first place. Check for expiry time. Oh, okay, I think I know what I meant. So let's say we add in all these effects, right, to a full list. So effectively, we have what we did before. So iterate from 0 to the effect limit. And again, we're just gonna, for number 40, let's add an effect that only lasts for, let's say, like 0.1 seconds. So the 40th item is the only item that is going to last for 1/10 of a second. Every other effect we add to this list is going to last for half a second. So I just chose 40, just a random number. That way we're not... the point is not to be at the beginning or the end of the list. It's just to be somewhere in the middle, right? And what we want to do is we want to expire this effect. So essentially we have a blank slot, right? And we're just making sure that when an effect is expired and the list is technically full, that it still reports that this is a blank slot, which is essentially what should happen. Yeah, it's just another test, just to make sure that this actually occurs and it goes in the right slot. Somewhere like in the middle. It's not the beginning, it's not the end. So we add in that, and we're going to advance the game. So I'll do game update by 0.1 second. Because they have a fade out time of 0, so they will be considered expired immediately. So then we can assert two things, or... yeah, we can assert two things. For one, we can first assert that this effect has indeed expired. So let's check for that first. We just say, effect, oops. I don't want assert is true, I just want is equal, or equal, excuse me. So we're gonna check if expired effect get effect manager, because we have to get all effects. We're gonna check for foreground effects, and we're gonna say item number 40 dot effect. So essentially this should be, this optional should now be missing. So I think if we cast this to a Boolean, we will get the correct value. So there should be nothing here, like, because it's an optional. So casting it to a Boolean, so expired effect should have been removed. So that's the first thing we're gonna test. Hopefully that works. The only reason why I'm doing this is I realize that we have some kind of like little edge case that I want to make sure works, because we don't actually test enough to where I'm confident this is going to actually succeed. So let me go ahead and build this real quick. Set as startup project. I don't even know if I have to do set as startup project. I don't think I do. I think if I just build this file, it knows. I want to say it will know. So we're going to let that build. And when we're done, we're going to be able to test that this passes. And then we're going to add one more test. The test is to see if the new effect gets inserted into the correct slot, while the others are still ticking down. Where is... So today is Tuesday. This week's a little weird because I have a friend working on a project, a programming project, and I've been asked to help with it. So I'm probably going to have quite a few times this week where I might not stream or be around, which is fine, but I would like to help out, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But today is not one of those days, so we get to actually program, which is nice. My goal today is to try and get through the rest of these monsters here. These are all the remaining monsters for Chapter 4. There's a couple left, but they all use strategies that previous monsters have used and are basically just reskins, like recolors. So they're not going to require any new graphics other than changing the colors, and they're not going to require new behaviors. Maybe like slight modifications to make them a little more difficult. And then outside of that, we can start working or drafting the next Chapter 4 boss today, which is going to be fun because there's a very interesting twist to one of the Chapter 4 bosses. So we're going to be looking at that today. Speaking of, I should probably get the documentation for that. Syntax errors. Did I like did I put something that I wasn't supposed to? Could not find translation function. There's no... Did this get modified at some point? Hello? That's weird. Get... Well, let's not do a blame. Let's actually look at the history here. Okay. that doesn't tell us anything. Okay. Oh. I see what happened. Okay. I know what's going on. I modified this macro recently and I made a mistake. I added standard unreachable to the end of this macro. But the standard unreachable, I think, is supposed to... Like, the whole idea was that it was supposed to be unreachable from here, right? Like, if we add it, technically that's what we want, but then we ignore the fact that it could have, what do you call it? It could have a scope tied to it. So it's like, do I have to add another scope to it so it's unreachable only in a block inside of there? Like, I'm trying to think of the use case. Like, why can't this be in here? Because that would be the same thing, effectively. Is like, if we had an error block, this error block after it becomes unreachable, but anything outside of it technically is not unreachable. I think that's what I was trying to say. And that doesn't really make sense. So, yeah, that's my bad. That actually breaks a lot of code. And I didn't really think about that. The little curly braces, which are going to change the whole scope of this thing. So using it in a situation like this, it indeed breaks it. So that's a full recompile. So I want to look for my documentation for the chapter 4 boss, because I don't think I have it loaded in my project yet at all. So I need to go find that first. Hopefully I can find it. Okay. So I do have a written description. Let me just put this somewhere so I have it. It's just a conversation I had with my game designer some time back. And it's a very interesting one. I've been meaning to hold back on sharing it because it's going to be... But we can finally start discussing it today because we're going to have to like design it and think about a couple of things related to it. So that'll be fun. I need to put this somewhere. Where am I going to put it? Probably... don't I have a documentation? I do. Okay, it's going in here. Hi there, Kyle. Welcome to the stream. Long time no see. It's been like, what, 4 days? 5 days, yeah. I explained a little earlier that this week's a little weird because, a friend I know is working on a coding project and has asked for my help. So during this week, I might disappear a few times to assist with that. But yes, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. I should probably... It's kind of quiet in here. Also, we got a compile error. Unexpected end of file found. What? For item enchant or for monster.cpp. Huh? I'm so confused. What do you mean unexpected? Oh. Wait. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. What? Are there more errors? There should be more errors, right? Is this broken? Well, it says expected a semicolon. Oh, what's this? Set... Oh, I forgot we were working on Spider. Okay, so we're actually at a good point to work on this. So I can't actually compile right now because this is missing. But we don't use it yet, right? So I'm gonna comment that out and just like recompile for the time being. Because I don't think we use it, so it shouldn't be required to compile. A little bit long? Well, we'll see. It's a busy week, so stuff happens, right? Okay, so I went ahead and built. Let me go back to effect tests and build that. And then with that out of the way, we can try running the unit test. It's a little quiet. I don't have my sound connected. Let me do that real quick. Usually I set this up before. Cool. This is really loud. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Okay. So let me go ahead and run this and make sure this test passes. And then we can write the other asserts for it real quick. So this actually failed. Assert failed. Expired effect should have been removed. So it says effect... So the optional did not get adjusted, which is how we determine if it's expired, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how we determine that. Let me... Yeah, that would definitely be how we determine that. At least, I want to say that's how we determine that. It's like... That's the expectation. I'm a little confused. Because it's like... Let me just look at the code for the expiring effects. So if the new state is dead when it wasn't before, effect counts gets decremented, and then what? Do we not remove it from the slot? I don't know if we do. Maybe we don't. Did we never just check like if an effect is like removed properly? Because, like, according to the test, it's not. So maybe it's actually... We need to add that. So, effect count goes down. And then at the same time, we should be saying the effect inside whatever the slot was. Because it used to be alive. Has to be reset. I'm not sure why we don't do this, but that is fascinating. I guess because we usually get an effect ref and check if that expired versus seeing if it's removed from the array, which I guess is a thing. That's just fascinating. But then let me think about that. For an effect ref, that should still match up with... Oh, I see it here. We say if not standard visit, effect.reset. So that should have ran, actually. So that means the update effect value did not properly say false. But I'm pretty sure we set the lifetime to 0.1, so I guess we're gonna find out what this actually does. So let's go here and debug. And then we're going to hit that breakpoint, and then we're gonna wait till we get here at this breakpoint. Hello? Want debug? Does it not want to start? Oh, I didn't stop the previous test. Okay, well that explains it. That's gonna take a second. Yeah, that's a little strange to me. It definitely should have expired, at least according to that code. Unless something really weird happened. But what I could do is let's put this on a new line. That way I can breakpoint into here. In theory, we should see this breakpoint get hit. Hello? I hit stop, I promise. Oh my god. Why is it taking so long? Maybe Visual Studio broke. Oh my god. I'll restart it. Apparently it's broken. Oh, wrong Visual Studio. I used the Insider version for this project now. I've just kind of been using it this whole time. So, let's try that again. Please don't break. Okay, it's actually doing it this time. Yay. Hopefully it doesn't have to rebuild. I don't want it to rebuild, please. Okay, just recompiling this file, so we should be okay. Okay. So we hit this breakpoint, and I'm expecting to hit this breakpoint with an index of 40. So I don't think we tracked the index. Oh, down here? Yeah. So index of 40, and we do call reset. So this should be false now, right? Oh wait, I put true. Oh my god. I'm just being silly. Okay, so it actually works. Good. And then we also check that for background as well. And then the next thing we want to check is, let's add a new effect, and it should go to that slot, right? So we're gonna do game add effect down here, and we're gonna get effect refs out of this. Effect ref foreground effect, and we also get background effect, and then from there we can make sure that the slots are equal to 40, and we should be good. So we're gonna say we're looking for the number 40 in foreground EFF dot slot ID, and same with background effect. The slot taken over should match the expired effect. Okay, let's go ahead and run this one. And as long as that's good, we can move on. Oh, get rid of that breakpoint. There's another breakpoint down here, apparently. Okay, so that one's good. Excellent. I'm gonna commit that real quick before we proceed. Just commit the test. We don't have to commit anything else. So, effect tests. Where is that? Am I not seeing effect tests in here? What's going on? Effect tests. Like, there should be more than this. What? Huh? I'm so confused. Why doesn't it show effect test has changes? What? Is this file not part of the... Oh, is this file just not part of the thing? Yeah, it's not tracked. Why isn't it... Why is this not tracked? I don't want it to be... Why is it... Actually, more importantly, I think it's ignored. Hold on, what? Why is it ignored? I'm so confused. That makes 0 sense. Hello? It's status. It's literally being ignored. Okay. Let me go to tests. And in here should be a source file called effecttest.cpp. So let me do a git add effect test. I must have hit ignore on this by accident or something. The following paths are being ignored. What? Let me just go modify the git ignore. I must have like pressed some keybind or typed something by accident that did this at some point. Yeah, it's just down here at the bottom being git ignored. I don't know why, but that's weird. I'm glad I caught that because that's actually important. Add effect test.cpp to project. And this change... Like, I would describe the change, but like the whole file hasn't been committed, so yeah. So I want to push that file because we're still working on the other stuff, which is fine. Okay, so that's out of the way. So last time we were working on Spider. Spider has a unique mechanic where it can go invisible when it is far enough away from the player. What I wanted to do was make it so it dynamically like fades in and out like over time. So we need to be able to control the transparency of a monster when it is, well, be able to control the transparency of a monster programmatically in our AI code. And right now we can't do that. There was no property for them. So we were working on adding a new variable. We called it, I think, transparency, and we added a getter and setter for it. And so now we just have to, oh yeah, I was thinking it would probably be cool to have like a template class called like getSet with any given type. That way it just like automatically comes with a getter and a setter inside of it. I think that would be kind of fun to have. Anyways, this is set transparency, and all it's gonna do is set the transparency of the monster to be equal to whatever we set the alpha to. The transparency is a uint, so it can be a value between 0 and 255. And now that we have the ability to set the transparency, we'll be able to actually do that. We're also going to write the getTransparency function, which I don't think is implemented in here yet. So we just simply return it. It doesn't even look like it exists, which is interesting. Incompatible. Oh, let me see. Oh, because it has to return it. So the return type is a uint, like so. So that should be good. And then we go back to Spider, and now we have the ability, well, we still have to implement it. So let's go over to, well, we have to go to the rendering code for monsters. So that was in here, the draw function in the monster class. And inside of here, we found out last time we have a blend color variable. And we modify the blend color based on like buff timings and stuff. That way we can have like different scalings related to that. What we need to do is be able to now take whatever transparency we get out of whatever the blend color currently is, and multiply that by a fractional amount based on how much transparency we are applying. So you can see down here we actually have blend color alpha, which then we do stuff like with fade timer. So fade timer is a mechanic we added so that monsters, static monsters like pillars or something, which we coded as monsters, will fade out over time. So now we have to be able to modify this as needed. So you can see here we have like blend color alpha gets set to alpha, then it gets applied to the blend color alpha after it gets modified. So we need to modify right here before we send it back into the blending color. So blend color alpha, whatever we propose it to be, we need to multiply it by a ratio. So we're going to take whatever we have out of it and divide by the maximum of the uint, which is 255. We're going to treat it as a float and then downcast it because we need it to be a float so we get more precision when it comes to division. And then we're going to pass in transparency. So let's say the transparency was 255, you would get 1 out of here, so it wouldn't modify the alpha. But let's say it was like 64. 64 divided by 255 is roughly a quarter, and so you would multiply whatever the alpha coming out of this function by 0.25, which would then give you a mostly transparent sprite, which is what we're looking for. So now back in Spider, we can work on implementing that code. We're going to first need to write the property that determines how far away the spider has to be before it fades in and out of stealth. So let's go over to chapter 4, or monster strategies under spider. And under the spider list, we're going to add in a variable called stealth range, or hide range, I guess, is 500 game units. Then inside of our spider monster AI strategy, we can then grab that value and use it. So we can say, we're basically comparing the distance between us and the player to determine if we're hidden or not. So we can say const is hidden, or const bool is hidden, is determined by the distance, util distance, between the player, which is going to be found by grabbing the game pointer, which means we need to include Adventures in Listoria, and include the game global variable pointer, and then we'll have access to game get player from it, and we can get its position from the player pointer, and then we're comparing that distance to the monster's position, which we have locally under m.getPause. Once we have that, we have the unit distance, or the pixel distance. So now we have to compare that. So we'd say, is the distance... So it's only hidden if the distance is greater than or equal to the hide range. So we're going to do config pixels, because it's a unit distance, so we have to convert it to pixel distance. And we called it the variable hide range. Like so. And so now that we know if it's hidden or not, we can do some extra behaviors. So no matter what, it's always going to run this strategy. But we're going to say, based on whether or not it's hidden, we have to start fading it in or out to match the proper transparency. So if is hidden, we're going to set the transparency of the monster. So we're going to call set transparency to be whatever the current transparency is, but since it's hidden, we're decrementing it down towards 0. So we're going to do a standard, whichever is greater, max, of either 0 or, and we have to be careful here because these are unsigned integers. So if we don't do, I think there is what's called a type promotion here, but I could be wrong. We're gonna have to verify that. So right now, well, if I use an integer and I subtract it from an unsigned integer, I think it gets promoted to, well, actually, that's an interesting question. What does it get promoted to? Does it get promoted? Does it get promoted to a long? Well, we'll have to see, right? I'll have to think about this for a second. But anyways, standard max. It chooses between whichever is greater, either 0 or our value will be whatever the current transparency is minus whatever the fade speed is. We could make a configurable parameter, but we could just make it on our own. How about we make a parameter? So we're going to say hide fade speed. And we can make it a timing. So we can say, like, let's say it fades out over like half a second. So the lower it is, the faster it fades out. So then the amount of transparency we would have to fade per second will be determined this way. Okay, so we can make a new variable called fade speed. Now, unfortunately, transparency is an unsigned integer instead of like a float. So we're gonna have to do something to make it so we can store like partial increments of transparency altogether. Which kind of sucks, but we can do that. So I'm gonna first go to monster attribute and make a new variable called alpha blend or alpha amount. Just something that makes it easy for me to understand kind of what it is, right? And I'm going to go in here, and at the very beginning of Spider, we're actually going to assign this variable. So I'm going to make a new phase for it. So we're going to make an enum here of phases. Enum phases, or phase. And we're going to make the init phase and the run phase, or update phase, whatever we want to call it, right? So then we can make a switch statement around this phase. The default phase is init because its value is 0. And then we make the two case statements. And in the init phase, we're going to make it so it initializes this new parameter we just made. And we're going to assume that it's actually whatever the transparency is by default. So we're going to set the alpha amount equal to the monster's default transparency. That way they're kind of like in sync from the beginning. So that's what's going to be there. And then when we're running, we're going to adjust it. So thing is, it can be modified by other stuff. So we have to kind of keep that in mind too. This is more like a multiplier, right? Realistically, I should call this like the transparency multiplier, but we're going to be modifying it here under run. So after we've set that variable, we can actually advance the phase to phase run. And from there, everything just works like normal. We have a way to track it with decimal values because that's going to be a float now. And so the fade speed is going to be whatever the hide fade speed is. So this is like gonna be multiplied by whatever 255 is. 255 is the amount we have to get to or from. So we're gonna take hide fade speed, config float, hide fade speed. And if we do 1 over this, we get the ratio of amount of adjustment per frame. So, for example, it's 0.5, right? So if we do 1 divided by 0.5, we end up with 2. So that tells us what the multiplier should be for our fading speed. So we do that by 255, and that's what we end up with. So let's say, for example, the hide fade speed was 0.2 seconds. This would be 1 over 0.2, which ends up being the number 5. So that would be 5 times 255 per over 1 second, right? Because we have to think of it this way. If we only have 0.2 seconds to reach the number 255, then naturally we have to, like, 255 times 5 means we have to, in 1 second, we should have gone 1,275 values. But naturally, we're not going to go that far. We're only going that far for 0.2 seconds. So then if you multiply by 0.2, you end up with the 255. So it works out. That's the formula for that. So now that we know what the fade speed is, and it's in a float value, we can take that and subtract that from our alpha amount, because that is a float. So we do set transparency to alpha amount minus fade speed. And at the same time we are doing this, we also need to make sure that we are setting the value too. It doesn't seem like it's happy about this. No instance matches int-to-end float. Well, I changed that, so this is now a float, this is now a float, so that should be happy. IntelliSense was just taking its time. But I do want to set this at the same time. If we're subtracting this, and this is going to be what the transparency is, then we need to get the transparency after this and reassign it to alpha amount. So anytime we set, we're also going to get the new transparency coming out of here. That way we're kind of like up to date. So if we're not hidden, we just go the opposite direction. Instead of subtracting, we add. And in either scenario, we're always setting. So we can reduce the if statements down a little bit to look like this. And we just add instead of subtract. And we're doing standard min instead, with the maximum being 255. Okay. So that looks good to me. So if it's too far away, which means it's hidden, it's going to decrease the transparency, slowly hide away. If it's not hidden, it should be increasing the transparency until it's fully visible. And with that, we pretty much have our code for the spider. At all times, it should be running the goblin dagger code, so I don't know where that went, but that should be in here. It would be under the run at all... Oh, it's right there. Run strategy goblin dagger at all times. So with that being said, I think we are ready to compile and try this out. Excellent. I'm gonna go ahead and let the game build. Now, one thing we still have to do is under tiled, we need to go ahead and add the spider to... I think we already did this actually. We added the spider to our map, and I think we saw it. It was just like running up to us and poking us, so I think we're good there. I just want to make sure that that's what happened. Let me close all tabs, and then let's open 4.1, which we've been using as the testing map for a little while. So there's our spider. We're temporarily using the frog icon for it, which, by the way, I am working on submitting the request for our new pixel art graphics for the chapter 4 monsters, so shouldn't have to worry too much about that. Oh yeah, but yes, I need to add in that chapter 4 bosses documentation real quick, so we have that ready to go. Let's put that under mechanics. This is chapter _4 _ boss.txt. Okay. So I'm just gonna copy what my game designer has so far. So the bonus boss, you fight against 3 shadows of heroes, which are a combination of warrior and thief, archer and trapper, and wizard and witch. So basically all 6 classes are put up on display against 3 bosses in one like arena style battle, which is very exciting to me for 2 reasons. Both in that it sounds very fun because you're basically like essentially doing PvP VE. Yeah, that is very cool. And then but the second part is also the coding aspect. So I kind of hinted at it a few weeks ago, but I said that we kind of put some things in place to try and make it easy for us to make this possible without much coding effort. And what I mean by that is if we look at all the abilities, right? All the abilities in the game, they are stored inside of different variables. Like they're all just Lambda functions. And at one point when we were developing this game, we actually made it so you could like set an ability to any single slot in your ability bar. So instead of having like, if you were a ranger, instead of having like charge shot, you can put like the wizard's firebolt in it, and it's fine. Like they're not tied to any specific class, they're just functions that execute, you know, whatever they're supposed to do. So because we've done it this way, there's already a lot in place to make it very easy to spawn these things by just running the same code. The only things that we're gonna have to adjust is things like, okay, well, anything that references the player, it's clearly not gonna be the player, right? So we'll have to think about that. So there's still gonna be quite a bit of software architecture that's gonna go on here, but a lot of the basics are already in place. That's just like the thinking anyway behind it. Okay, anyway, this thing you can see it just kind of like disappears. I feel like it should not disappear, it should be fading out over time. So let's take a look at that. Oh, I didn't multiply by elapsed time, I just set it directly to the fade speed. Oops. Very common error. So while the fade speed is, yes, this is the base fade speed, it's not the final fade speed. The actual fade speed is multiplied by however much frame time has passed, which we have to do game get elapsed time. Okay. Let's go ahead and run that one more time. And then there is another boss, which we're not going to touch for a while because we're going to be focusing more on working on the first boss. But yeah, the other boss is a more... It's not as novel, but it's also tied to the swamp theme, which is fun. But we'll look at that more when we get done with the first boss of the game, of the chapter 4 part of the game. Alright, let me see if this now does a more fade out approach. At least I hope it does. Because before it was just like, poof, gone. Let's see. Oh, well now it's going from... It's taking its time to become visible, but it's just immediately becoming visible. So that's not right either. I think I know what happened. We must have not, like, done a conversion or something properly. How many years of experience in C++ do you have? 6 years so far. I've been working on this project for a little over 3 years, so... the first 3 was when I was working on all sorts of miscellaneous projects. In C++ though. Once I committed to the OLC Pixel game engine, then I was pretty much only using C++. There were a few older projects I looked at, but yeah, anything in the last 6 years, pretty much just C++. Like, I think I screwed it up at some point, but there was a point where this was showing. Let me see. Can we yeah, I don't think this is in order, is it? Repos. Sort by... See, I don't think I can sort it by, like, newest, because... Oh, maybe I can. Okay, cool. Easy, like C++. That's actually C++. That's... If it says C, it's because it has a C library in it, that's why. C++, 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 C++. That, it's pretty much almost everything has been C++ in the last 6 years. A little bit of other stuff every once in a while, right? I've started learning C++ 2 months ago, and you sometimes don't understand the language? Well, that's okay. It's a very complex language. It's expected, right? So, yeah. That's okay. But yeah, my flavor of the month used to be Java. Well, JavaScript for a little bit when I did my web dev intern and stuff, but mostly Java before all this. Java, 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 Java. Good times, good times. And even before all this, I was doing Python and Game Maker language, but that's not in here because back then I didn't do anything related to source control. So, like, I just was that silly kid that didn't back up any other stuff, right? So if I ever lost my stuff, which I've lost some stuff, admittedly, I didn't really have a way to get it back. You saw Java code, it seems more complex? Oh no, trust me. Java code is much simpler. Well, okay, that's hyperbole, but Java code is simpler. I think the most complex code you can do in Java involves reflection. Reflection code in Java, well, I would say just in languages in general, is very nutty. Just because of the nature of reflection. Which C++ is about to get, so it's about to have its own can of worms on top of how complex it already is. But C++ is very complex. I know Python and SQL and so on. Python is a very good, nice language. I would say out of a lot of languages, it definitely falls on the easier and simpler side, which is a good thing. And it's not a bad thing, of course. I think it does a pretty good job. It is typeless though, which has its own problems. Like, that's why JavaScript, it looks simple on the surface, but typeless languages have their own problems. Like, there's something to be said about languages where you are strict on typing. Strict type languages, you can modify something and it will cause compile errors, which is a good thing. You want that. You want the compiler to determine your problems. You don't want to get into runtime and you find out your string is a number, or a number is an array or something dumb, right? Like, that's where all the headaches begin. Okay, so we're right here. This is blend color alpha. This is where we multiply. Okay, I see the problem. We're multiplying by a decimal here, when realistically we should be multiplying it. So let's do this. Let's do blend color alpha equals blend color alpha multiplied by this, because it's a float right now, and then cast down to uint t afterwards. So that's my bad. I think that should fix it, because we were casting it to uint t and then multiplying it, which means we lost the decimal part. I learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, yeah. Typical web dev. Understood. Well, actually, typical web dev nowadays is like npm, Flask, throw in some Docker containers. What else do you want, right? God, it's terrible. But yeah, I can appreciate the old stuff. Okay, we can see it fade in and out now, so that's good. It's doing the thing. Despite the sprite being completely wrong, it's fading in and out much more smoothly, which is what we want. So I like that. That's actually, I think half a second fade in is also a good value. If you're not expecting it, the spider literally will appear in front of you. So I like that. I think that's a good start. So we'll just call that good for the spider. I don't know why we have so many changes. Oh, it's because we were implementing transparency. Why did we change this though? This was, oh, I just condensed a line. Wait, and then I uncondensed it. Oh, come on. Come on, girl. Just make it, just full commit. Full send. Okay. Let's see. What else we got? Monster. Let's look at that again. That's fine. I changed the map. That makes sense. I added those. I need to add... You know what's weird? It's not... Oh, there it is. I'm like, it's not adding the new files I put in my project. Okay, so this looks good to me. Implemented spider. Minus the graphics, of course. That comes later. So we will revisit... I forgot to put the release number. Whatever. That's fine. Okay, so there's one monster down. Let's look at the next one. So the next monster is a purple slime. It's going to use the red slime strategy. So let's go ahead and let's like color shift a red slime or something, because it most closely resembles a red slime. So we're gonna use that. Let's see here. PHP is like Python. I would say, okay, so I'm kind of old school nerd PHP. So not modern PHP. But if we think modern PHP, I'm thinking more Python, yes. But I'm thinking like old school PHP, which is like a mix of like JavaScript and like Perl. It's like old school PHP, like people don't talk about it because it was shit. It was absolutely terrible. It's grown a lot since then. But yeah, modern PHP is a lot better. Although I haven't used it much, so I need to actually try it one day. Again. Okay, red slime, red slime. So it was kind of like, you can think of it like, they added a bunch of like features to the language that you didn't really want. Let me try and find like, I wonder if this still okay, this does still exist. Excellent. So let's look at PHP 5 manual, right? and we go look at, let me see. Available online in English. So, I'm trying to think of good examples here. Let's say, because we're up to like 8 now. PHP 5 is awful. Do you have any good examples, Moros? I'm trying to think of some. So most of what I'm thinking is like, okay, like, so there's like mailer, there's like, there's just like the post get, which I think is absolutely like a terrible flow in general. I think the way they handle cookies and sessions is very like spaghetti. Oh, the files variable. I remember this too. I feel like what they tried to do was very like, was put too much together. Examples of why like PHP 5 was like not great. Because the thing is, I haven't used PHP lately, so I'm like, okay, so what's better now? I didn't even use that. That's news to me, but that sounds like that is awful. Yes, I agree. But yeah, all these like extensions, I feel like none of them did good enough to be usable. Like, I was either handling it with JavaScript or just with Apache. I was never using PHP for like half of this stuff, maybe even more than half of this stuff. So it's like, why is it there in the first place? And I made like spaghetti web pages in PHP when I was like probably like 15 or 16. God, it was awful. And definitely insecure. There was no notion of security back then. An application that is server rendered, it makes more sense? I see. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it was for, yeah? Yeah, specifically server rendering. Okay, I gotcha. But like, even then, I found that I was just adding a lot of JavaScript in just to like kind of do what I wanted with PHP. So I guess, yeah, you're right. Like, I guess I never really needed PHP for what I wanted to use it for. Or what I thought I needed PHP for. I just did most of it JavaScript anyway, so yeah. That makes sense. Oh yeah, like that is the point of PHP though, is you can render whatever you want dynamically before the user receives it. Which is nice. I tried to make like little like web story games within stuff with like branching paths. I thought that was always a fun use of it. Assembly. Talking assembly now? I don't know about assembly. I don't If you want to learn, by all means, be my guest. I mean, it's a good learning experience. This is purple enough. I'm just going to lock it to our palette real quick. I'm like, this is purple enough. Okay. Use bash or compile a program to do your server-side actions. You are right. Like, I did write a lot of just random bash scripts that essentially served dynamic things. Okay, so this is purple-slime.png. I'm gonna have to reload our asset pack because we're adding a new graphic. Oh, also, I need to go to new branch. This isn't... the spider branch is done. I guess we can pull request it now. If I can... Where's my project? Okay. So, new pull request. Assuming it was good. Yeah, it built. So we're just gonna do that real quick. So when Perl entered the scene in later PHP, it was kind of the go-to thing for server-side stuff. Oh my god. Perl is hilarious. I wrote like a lot of like logging scripts or like logging parsers with Perl. Assembly is needed for game dev journey. I mean, I don't know any assembly and I'm fine. Maybe if you're gonna get into like programming old stuff, you probably want to know assembly. Or just out of curiosity. We also had CGI apps in C. Pearl just stole most of the spotlight. Fair. Like, all I saw was Pearl, Pearl, Pearl for a while. Yeah. We're kind of in this era where assembly is not required at all to get into game dev. Like, game dev is so much... The barrier to entry for game dev is so much lower nowadays. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I should do all this at once. There's like... When I have to add a new monster, there's like 6 things I have to do. And maybe doing them all in sequence makes more sense, but... Let me open up the monsters... tile set? The map tile set, that is. And we are going to add in a purple slime. This is 48 by 48. I'm glad I wrote that number there because every time I went here, I always forgot. Just gonna grab you. Put you right here. This is strictly for having the sprite display inside our map editor. Well, tiled. But yeah, essentially I do this for every monster. That way we can actually modify these things. So this is purple slime. And we are using... Well, we're not using this tile, so I need to actually change that. But yeah, it's going to be chill. The next few of these monsters is just going to be this process on repeat. We have a size of 90%, which is 48 times 0.9, 43.2. Oh, I ignored that question. How good is Go for game dev? I mean, do you want to use Go for game dev? I thought it was more for web dev. Like, isn't that what like half the modules in Go are about? Networking and web dev? I haven't used Go personally, so I couldn't tell you. I think there was one instance where I almost considered trying Go, but it was just on a whim. Oh, okay. That's fair. I just know it actually has networking support. So, like, the stuff I do use... Actually, Git is built in Go. Yeah. That's right. But, the stuff I do see Go used for is typically on a web project. Which is nice. It's nice that it has that capability kind of just, like, built in, right? I'd rather have a language that has those features. Unfortunately, C++ does not come with those features. But, like, somebody has told me that you probably don't want it to be in the standard library because it's probably just going to require you to use something else anyway, because there's a lot of standard library implementations that are just not as good as what other people can come up with in the first place. Yeah, and not only that, but the chance that you are going to learn and be able to utilize assembly enough to make it matter is pretty slim. You have to really, like, target a very specific thing. It's like the purpose of using assembly would be your goal is to access the lower level stuff and speed things up. If you are not using it for that, why are you doing that, right? When you can just use an easier to understand higher level language that does the same, if not a better job. Like, compilers are very, very intelligent and very capable of reducing code to very fast speeds. If you're running a server, there you go. Yeah, I just know it has good networking, which is very handy. So for Purple Slime, I'm actually not going to develop a new strategy file for it. I'm literally just going to say it uses the red slime strategy. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm actually going to copy red slime, because it's literally a copy of red slime. And then we'll change it to say purple slime instead. And then we'll just modify its stats, of course. Yeah. Unless you got a brand new piece of hardware that cannot interface with any programming language in the world, and you have no access to, like, any like compiler in the world. It's like then you're starting from scratch, right? It's like I've always wondered, how far could a programmer get if they had no access to the internet, no access to files or anything? Just given a blank machine, it has no data on it. What would your approach be? Where would you start? Now, I would argue, for game dev, how much of it is performance critical? Like, so, realistically speaking, right? Like, obviously games run very fast. They output many frames per second. You only have a very small amount of compute time between each frame. But like, realistically, how many scenarios are performance critical minus maybe like rendering, right? I could see audio processing, physics, but that's why most people use game engines, right? A lot of those problems have already been solved, like GPUs, game engines. A lot of those problems have been solved thanks to those things. Well, maybe not solved, but definitely easier, right? They're easier to understand or implement. Move speed is 105. Size is 90. And XP 31. I'm just plugging in numbers right now. Funny enough, the red slime just uses the run towards strategy. And now the purple slime does too. Okay. The only difference is these drops are gonna change, so I'm just gonna remove these. Okay. So purple slime should be mostly implemented. Let me just save this template and we'll add it to the map just to make sure, you know, we can plop it in there and it works. Alright, here. I'll just have this guy spawn real quick and make sure that's fine. Yay, purple slime. Yeah. Nothing fancy, doesn't require any extra code. I wish my setup looked as beautiful as yours. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it just makes coding a little more exciting, right? Yeah. Keeps things interesting. Alright, what's this? Image loading failed. Did I not save it? Purple slime. Well, it's exported, so I don't understand why it's not. I mean, it's there. Image loading failed, huh? Did I? Oh, I didn't delete the asset pack. That's why. That's why I was in here in the first place. Okay. Okay. Basically, every time we add an image to our game, it has to rebuild that game pack. So that's why I didn't find it. Okay. Rebuilding the cache. Then we'll have our little purple slime, which works just like a red slime, which all they do is run into you. So that's fun. Just run into you. Oh. Why does it look weird? Is that what it's supposed to look like? Why does it look so like... Yeah, what is that? Hold on. Did I put the wrong size? Sheet frame size, 24 by 24. Why is it so tiny? It doesn't look... It's not supposed to look like that. You know what? I've been noticing that these images I've been saving have been coming out wonky. Is it because they're indexed? I wonder if that's why. Like, that is a little strange. I might be... Something might be breaking here. Let me try again. I don't think saving it as indexed matters. Like, it's not like PNGs... I don't know, do PNGs do indexing colors? I don't think so. I think that's just GIMP. The only format I know that does indexed colors are GIFs, whatever. Okay, it looks correct here. Maybe it's just the size shrinking done by the engine. Yeah, because it is 90% size. Okay, well it actually looks correct now, so maybe when I export it as indexed, it does something weird to it. But it's fine now. Anyway. Okay, so maybe that's what was happening. I mean, it was happening to my other sprites too, and I don't think I caught on to that. So maybe that's what was going on. Yeah, I actually have a local music composer that I meet up with. He's actually the friend I'm helping with a programming project right now. But yeah, he helps me come up with more like more fun like music. It's not like retro as in like we're talking like old school retro, but it's like it's modern retro, if that makes sense. It's more like it's made to sound like that, right? Think. Well, when I saved it as RGB, it was fine. I mean, I think the most retro we got was just the overworld map, which I have the music muted, but I can play here real quick. It's fun though. But there are a lot of retro sound effects. I have to add more. Like, sound effects usually come in later because I'm like, yeah, I need to add sound effects to make it sound better or whatever. But yeah, if I do overworld? Oh, maybe it is overworld. Let me see. It's probably gonna be really loud. Oh, that's fine. So yeah, that's fun. Yeah, it's just like, a lot of these compositions, they're more like, upbeat and simple, but also like, they're obviously not like using retro sounds. So yeah. I'll just do one more for fun. But yeah, I like what he makes. He makes good stuff. I'm really happy to have him work on my game for me. Also, I'm still in the spider branch. I'm just going to make another branch that says the rest of monster. I'm gonna call it like chapter 4 monsters, because the rest are not gonna require me to do anything fancy. Check out branch, bring over changes. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, the game does induce that like retro style feel, so we kind of have a soundtrack that goes along with it nicely. At least I think so. Okay, so this is purple slime. Purple slime implemented. We have to do the same for the other 2 monsters. Release build 13233. That's fair. And maybe, like, I did propose this to him at some point. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we developed, like, a classical version or, like, a retro version of the soundtrack you ended up making? That would be kind of fun, right? That's like an after thing, but I always thought that would be a fun thing to do. You could just literally exchange some of the instruments out and maybe lower some of the fidelity, like remove some of the sounds, and you probably get something that sounds very convincing. Yeah. I mean, critique is critique. I appreciate it though. I think it's nice to hear like the feedback or the thoughts of other people, because at least it's things we can write down, right? It's like notes. We always keep notes of what players think of our game. Like, we don't really have a large sample size. We're not like advertising our game out to a bunch of communities or anything, but the feedback we do get, we, you know, take that to heart and decide, oh, okay, this might be a good idea, right? Okay, the next one is the giant purple slime. It's just a larger purple slime. I don't think I have to change anything in terms of this sprite because it's literally just gonna be bigger. At least I don't think I did. Let me see. Did I do that for yellow? Let me see if I did that for yellow. I don't think I did it for yellow. Because if it like takes up more of the sprite, then it'll look larger. Yeah, it's literally, it just looks like a normal one. We just resize it. So, yeah. I don't even have to make a new sprite. I can just use the yellow slime strategy. Too easy. But it does mean I need to specify the image. So we added that capability in our engine a while back. We added like a no XP version of a hawk. And because we did that, we have to specify a separate base image name, which it uses so that it doesn't look for giant purple slime and doesn't find it. So there is that. Have you considered to use Vulkan? No. If it's not in the... If Pixel Game Engine doesn't support it, then I'm probably not using Vulkan. PNG offers indexed modes. Ooh, okay. That's probably what happened to my image then. I have no idea how it works in the context of the GIMP editor, but I think it was messing with my images. Finally, someone who doesn't take it personally. I've met a few who get triggered from the most basic suggestion. I think I've been around, I've been streaming long enough to where I'm like, that kind of behavior is kind of pointless. Like, what's the point of causing trouble or being a grouch on the internet? It doesn't do anything for anybody. If anything, it just makes everybody mad. I like to talk and engage and meet with people, so I feel like there's a way to have a discussion without completely just taking everything people say, you know, as an attack. Meanwhile, I make a career of making people grumpy. But yeah, Pixel Game Engine uses OpenGL, so, and it's not like I'm using OpenGL directly, I'm just using a wrapper around it, so. I only learned OpenGL as like a gee whiz kind of thing, right? It's like, oh, this is a thing, this is how it works internally, I get it. Do I want to interface with it and use it 24/7? Not really. So having the Pixel Game Engine put all that behind the scenes is very nice. I don't think I would want to work with it directly. It's not something I'm interested in, right? As someone who wants to spit out programs and see things happen on screen, I'm not super invested in, oh, this is how these are all the settings you need to set in OpenGL to make the graphics driver do this. It could be good for like sometimes I think about how graphics, like special effects artists or like visual effects artists do their stuff. It's like you have to really know how the graphics APIs work to understand what it's capable of to achieve the effects you're interested in. I think that would be the kind of work where I would consider learning more about like GPU frameworks or graphics APIs. I like suffering using Vulkan. Apparently you like suffering with assembly too. Yeah, it was more like I went in depth with OpenGL for a little bit as like, oh, this is nice to know, right? I understand how it works, I understand the concepts. I'm gonna go back to my wrapper now that I understand. I'm good. So I think there is a strategy called yellow slime. I'm gonna look for that. To be fair, Kyle, you said it, not me. I'm like, oh, you wanna learn assembly? No, I'm just poking fun at you, but I hope that doesn't get taken personally. I just think it's fun. Okay. Oh, so it's integrated to run towards, but you set up like the jump stuff. So if it's gonna behave like a yellow slime, then I want the same properties as the yellow slime. Or maybe different, but we'll see. Like, I will say the jump timer for the yellow slime is very long, so if this is a more advanced one, maybe it's just shorter, right? Who knows? We can, like, reduce it and see what happens. And I assume the attack damage wants to be the same as the actual attack. Knockback factor, we can make it a little larger if it's gonna be faster. And move speed during the jump can be a little faster too. Just like everything can be more aggressive about this guy. And how much time remaining? Okay, that's fine. Oh, VFX for Hollywood, much more critical. That is very true. Yeah, C++ is awesome. Yeah, C++ camp. I've been in it for 6 years. I create very wild-looking C++. You know, I've kind of gotten a high off of reading template errors that are like 30 lines long. I've started telling people that. I'm like, man, I can't wait to see the next template error I get. Awfulsome. I like that. That's a fun way to put it. It's very awfulsome. Yes, I agree. So I think that's all I have to do for giant purple slime. Now I just have to add in a graphic. Giant purple slime. Let's see. Let's put you here. Actually, I don't even have to do that. If you're the same sprite, I can just make a larger template. Let's, you are giant purple slime, and you are 160%. So 160 or 1.6 of 48 is 76.8. So we'll just do that. Cool. And save that as the template. I don't want to replace. What if I hit duplicate? Oh, I have to detach it, that's why. There we go. That makes more sense. Detach, save as template. Okay. It takes 3 to 4 months to max to learn C++. For those who know other languages, I don't know if you noticed, but 2 weeks ago we were learning something completely new. Yeah. I'm 6 years in and I'm learning new C++ stuff every day. I'm like, oh. Oh, sweet summer child. Oh, sweet summer child. There is so much to explain. But for real, like, learning the core of the language, yes. I would say in a couple months, you could probably develop convincing, like, basics of C++, for sure. I don't disagree. But to know C++, oh no. Oh no. C++ 17. That's still a lot. That's still a lot. Like, if I just gave a ballpark number, right? Maybe in a year you could probably get pretty comfortable with everything, right? Like, this isn't like to say like, oh, you're not smart enough to just like know everything really quick. This is more like, okay, there's so much stuff in here. You're starting from scratch with C++. Yes, you know other languages, but it's like, there are concepts to C++ that you have to build up before you can even look at the C++ 17 features. Does that make sense? It's like, first you have to learn the concepts of the language, then you have to learn all the additions of the language, and then comes like best practices and how to utilize all of it in not only ways that you want to use, but in like ways other people use in their projects, and like optimizing, blah blah blah. Ooh, yeah, the speed of C++ is very addictive. You don't use everything in game dev? I mean, that's true. Like, heck, you don't even have to use much of C++ like I do if you don't want to. I do it for fun. Like, I intentionally try and use a bunch of features because I want to, like, I kind of want to learn in depth how the language works. But you really don't have to use many C++ features for game dev. You can avoid most of it. Or only use the basics. Okay. let me add giant purple slime in our map, and then we'll try it out. Just make sure I implemented it correctly, or maybe I didn't implement it correctly. Okay. If you want to do optimized game dev, C++ is best if you avoid STL. Yeah, that's what I heard. Failed to load image. Oh, we forgot to specify a different base image. So base image is purple. Purple slime. I think that's all we have to do for that, hopefully. Okay, try that again. It still failed. Did I do that wrong? Let me look at the no XP hawk again. Oh, base image name. Okay. We were close. But yeah, that is a pretty loaded statement. Like, me thinking of how many features there are in the actual entirety of C++ standard. It's like, if you tell somebody, oh, I'm gonna be able to know how to use C++ in insert any number or any duration, they're gonna be like, oh boy. Oh boy. Boy, do I have a story to tell you. I mean, that's fair. Thanks, Moros. Fun talks. Hope you enjoy your supper. But thanks for stopping by. I just think it's to me it's like insane how much there is to C++. It's kind of wild. The rabbit hole goes pretty deep. So giant slime is good. I think I made the jump delay time a little too low. Like maybe like we can do like 1.0 or something. But yeah, it was a little too low, I think, for my taste. But that's why we can tweak those, right? And then we have the swamp frog, which does the same thing as a chapter 1 frog. So we kind of do what we did before. It will have its own sprite, so let me just swap this here. Frog. Good old frog. Just make it like brown colored for now. Something like that. Like, the only thing I use the indexed feature for is to lock in the colors if I, like, palette swap them. But apparently saving them as indexed messes with the colors in the actual image loading, so I guess I have to swap it back afterward. Okay, so here's our swamp frog. Shift R? Control R? What are you? Oh, you're just R. I swore I was pressing R. I promise. Here's our little buddy. And then after this, we have all of our basic chapter 4 monsters, at least AI-wise, done. Still need some graphic-wise, of course. Swamp frog. Monster. This is going to have a size of 80%. 48 times 0.8 is 38.4. Save as swamp frog. I'm gonna throw that into the map as well. Okay. And then we'll add an entry for it. Pretty much follow the frog. I don't think there's any reason not to. Now, the tongue animation will still be red. I don't know, are there... I'm pretty sure different frogs have different colored tongues, right? Like... I assume they do. Like, have we seen... What colors of frog tongues are there? Frog tongue colors. Are they all like red? Are they all like this pink color? Is that just how they all are? Does every frog have a pink tongue? Or a red tongue? Like red pink? I guess we'll just leave it then. If every frog has similar colored tongues, we don't have to do anything. Unless we want to. Unless we want to just break the rules anyway. I'm just like, huh. I didn't know most frogs literally have a pink tongue. I guess I just never thought about it or noticed. Size is 80. And EXP is 35. And everything else can stay the same. I'll comment that out for now. Okay. So that's Swamp Frog. new image, so we have to re-update the asset pack. And then I think with that, we're good to go. Let's see. I think we can adjust, like, because I know the swamp frog, it takes a lot, or the regular frog takes a lot of time to, like, aim at the player. We could probably, like, adjust the speed of this one to be a little faster, right? Because it's a more advanced monster, so it shouldn't take as long to do the same things. So we could probably adjust some parameters. We'll have to see what parameters exist. So yeah, we could definitely adjust that, of course. I want to make sure the damage value is correct. Okay, 46. That is correct, accounting for armor, because it's supposed to do 61 damage, so 46 sounds about correct with the armor that my ranger currently has. So let's go ahead and look at frog properties in here. Frog strategy. So we have the range, lock-on wait time, attack duration, max range of tongue. Okay, so we can modify any of these properties by replicating them inside of the swamp frog parameters, and it will override them. So let's say the frog doesn't have to go as far. Let's just increase its range just for fun. Let's say the max range goes up to 600 extended. Lock-on wait time is like, let's do only half a second, and the attack duration being for 1 second should be fine. Smaller recovery maybe. Just make it faster overall. Oh, we do have a parameter for tongue color. That is cool. Tongue knockback strength, maybe we increase that a little bit. I put 1 is quite small. So yeah, with all these in place, we should get a more aggressive frog. That's the hope. Oh. The other game didn't close. But yeah, I'm glad we'll finally be able to tick off a task. Chapter 4 monsters finally being done. I'm so excited. I'm excited to finally have something done from that. Yeah, it's definitely faster. Oh my gosh. That is a larger knockback. Maybe not, maybe that's too much. That's a little excessive. Let's try 3, maybe 2.5. Yay. Thank you. Okay, chapter 4 monsters implemented. So this includes the large or giant purple slime, the giant purple slime, swamp frog, and wasn't there one more? Giant purple slime, swamp frog. Oh, well. Okay. I thought there was one more for some reason. Giant purple slime and swamp frog. Implemented. Okay. That should be everything we'll need to do. So, why are there no changes to the build? Oh, I guess we didn't change any code, so that just shows how nice the actual AI system turns out to be, is that we can utilize a lot of the older AIs. Okay, so chapter 4 monsters is done. And when that finishes, we can do our merge. Chapter 4 monsters into master. And this covers issue number 84. Long time coming. Finishes issue 84. Which is awesome. Okay. So once that finishes, we can commit. Or it will auto-commit when the check succeeds. We should be good. Okay. I will take a quick break. And then we'll look at Shadow Boss stuff. I can start thinking about how we're gonna redesign some of the player ability stuff to be used for a monster. Like, it's gonna be an interesting idea. Like, will we implement them all ourselves? I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll be right back. Alright. Okay. This project is still building a little bit. Well, it's probably gonna be building for a while, probably like at least 8 minutes. So I'll just let that do its thing while I do some brainstorming. So I don't think we can directly utilize like the player class. Like, so I was thinking, okay, how much of the player class can we realistically reuse? I don't think we should reuse any of it because, first of all, it's a monster that combines two different like classes. So realistically, we don't have like that capability inside of a player class. The player class only has 4 abilities, and additionally, we'd have to look at code to figure out how we would pilot it from non-player input. So I don't think that's a viable strategy. What I think we can do though is we can utilize a lot of the stuff we've already made as like a reference. Like, I don't think we're gonna necessarily be like, okay, use this exact action and run all this code, but realistically we're gonna emulate its effects by following a lot of the same things. So I think the only parts of the code that we'll be able to utilize like one for one is like the add effects. So every add effect, every bullet comes with a monster hit and a player hit function. So even if we create something that only a player is normally supposed to spawn, we can write something for when it hits a player instead. And typically they match. They're usually the same minus who's getting hit, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think we're gonna have too many problems with those. But we're gonna have to manually, I think, put in all the other programmed behaviors. So while, yes, my game designer did say, like, they are literally gonna do what, they're literally gonna do what the heroes do. It's like, we have to come up with, like, the actual, like, state machines and ideas behind actually what that actually means, right? Like, for example, what is gonna be the strategy of like the warrior and the thief? It's a melee class, so it's gonna definitely want to run up towards the player. Like, that's gonna be a priority, because when it's in range, then it can hit you and continuously do damage. The warrior and thief class is known to do a high amount of damage very quickly. The only downside is they have to get in range of you, right? So naturally, I think the idea was to utilize all the abilities that these classes have in order to make this possible. So for example, the thief has a sneak attack, and the sneak attack lets them get behind their target. So this would immediately teleport the player to them, right? And additionally, like, the warrior has the battle cry, which will slow down any nearby targets. So like, if we program the AI to use these intelligently, then it will be able to put up a pretty good fight in that sense. I don't know how... I feel like we're gonna have to add a lot of like tuning for this though, like a lot of controls, because if we just make it incredibly smart and very responsive, it's also going to be probably too unfair for the player. So we have to think like the gameplay experience of this versing an actual class with all these abilities as well. And then what's the cooldowns on these? Are they the same as the players? Are they longer? Right? I think it's fair that since it's like, it's a monster or AI that can use their stuff more like accurately or with more precision, that we probably increase the cooldowns a little bit. The cooldowns for a player are meant to be pretty short because you constantly have to use them in fights. So if we increase them a little bit for a monster, I don't think that will hurt, especially because the monster will normally just be auto-attacking. But now that I think about it, like, the auto-attacks are not really dodgeable. It's like, you're either in range of them or you're not. Like, typically you're gonna be hit by these a lot, so do we make the amount of damage you take from them really small? Or do we only make these guys use, like, their abilities and nothing else? Not to mention, you have to fight 3 of them at once. Like, will all of them using auto attacks even be possible? I don't even think so. Maybe their auto attack will just be, like, one of their abilities they can use every once in a while, right? So maybe like an auto attack would have like a 4-second cooldown, right? Or something more realistic. Because if 3 of these are going to be fighting you at once, 3v1, you really don't want all of them to be attacking you every second or something. That seems silly. Either that or it's going to be undodgeable and you have to do like really low amounts of damage that just lower your health over time, which I don't know if that's the intention, really. So just things to think about, right? So I guess what I'm gonna do is let me bring up Warrior and let's see realistically which abilities we want to emulate and if there are any abilities we don't want it to have specifically. So the Warrior's block. So block just nullifies damage. It's like it's for stalling. I guess it could be used in the sense of like, so they will have their defensive abilities. So let's say the block can be used just to avoid a big attack. Like using it on purpose to avoid a big attack makes sense. While the thief has the roll. I think it's called a roll. I forget. It's like a step or something, like a shadow step. Whatever. So defensives, right? 2 of them. Maybe they share cooldown. Then we have the battle cry, which I was talking about earlier. And again, if these are used intelligently, then the AI will only use this when it's in range. And then we have a ground slam, which is supposed to deal damage, stun, and knockback. Then we have Sonic Slash, which is a giant ranged attack, AoE as well. I think we'll include all these. They're all fine. And then let's look at Thief. And then we have to come up with like the cooldowns. So we'll have to look at realistically what are the cycles of these monsters going to look like. So Thief auto attack. I wonder if I should ask my game designer to design this boss. I wonder if the intention, like the fact that he told me this implies that I'm actually implementing this all myself. So it's like, I wonder if he actually has like timings and stuff for this. Maybe I should ask. I'm just gonna drop a message in and see what happens. So any specifics for the shadows, or am I basically coming up with sensible default cooldowns and behaviors? Okay. Because I was thinking about it, I'm like, maybe he already has something, so I don't have to actually do the design part of this. That would be interesting. But either way, we're gonna have to work on the AI for this, so we kind of still need to at least come up with the plan. Oh cool, he's around. Maybe he can tell us something. So we have the roll. Let me change that to roll. I think shadow sneak or whatever is something else. Hidden dagger. That was the no, that's actually a ranged projectile that you throw back. I guess that's fine. Hidden dagger. We have deadly dash. Okay, that's the one that has like a charge up time, so it definitely needs like a tell, and then just dashes straight in a direction. And then the adrenaline rush is just like a buff. It's supposed to increase like everything, so I assume it's gonna give like what do we call it, action speed or whatever. Adrenaline rush. Okay, so that's the whole skill set of makeup of this. So we could start with this, and we can make each one a separate strategy, because yes, each one will do different things. These 2 are ranged. They're not going to want to do what a warrior and thief does, so we might as well start with that. I might even just call it warrior plus thief. I don't see why I can't. Can you add plus signs in file names? Because it's gonna look for that file name. Let me just grab character. I know. Player sprites? Are the player sprites just here? Yeah, okay. Let me just grab one of these for now. Because basically what we'll do is just make all of the sprite black, or a very like, or just like grayscale or something. And I think that would look fine. That'll probably accomplish what we want. Just like a gray version of the player. Yeah, you can have plus signs, so that'll work. I can just call this the warrior plus thief. Okay, so we do this. Just gonna make an entry for it real quick, because we also don't have like health values and stuff. What's the base attack, right? Yeah, it doesn't sound like he has that ready yet. So maybe we'll come back to this. If he does say he has like stuff written down. So if that's the case, I'm not gonna go any further, just to not like step over him, and I don't want to do extra work we don't have to do, right? So this is committed, that's good. So let's just go and let's work on some miscellaneous tasks, because there's a lot we have to do. I've kept a lot of things written down, and we can finally start addressing some of this. Okay, this all can go away. That's all been addressed. So, taking a look at my issue tracker, we can address this one. Credits display is very slow. So, it is. If we just run the game and go to credits, whenever you open the credits, because it's such a large display of characters, the frame rate kind of tanks. Not like horribly, this isn't like the slowest thing in the world, but definitely slows down, right? As in, like, if we added more stuff, it would slow down more. Like, actually, it's not as bad as it was before. It was, like, really tanking earlier. Did I do something? Did I run, like, hold on. Okay, it was actually being worse earlier. Maybe, I mean, it drops, the frame rate gets halved, which is, like, it's not actually that slow. So I don't know why I wrote that down. How many people are working on the project? So I'm the only programmer, but we do have a pixel artist, we have a music designer, and we have a game designer who also does the levels. So like, I don't actually do all the like levels, place the tiles. My game designer does that as well. So the game designer came up with like the whole idea for this game. Like this game would not even be a thing without him coming up with the concept. So yeah, I'm just bringing the game to life. That is my job. And I use the term job loosely, right? That's my role. I don't think this is a thing. Like, according to this, maybe I was in debug and I didn't notice. Maybe, because the solution would have been to generate the credits text as a texture and just render that. But I don't think, I mean, it would still make it faster, but I don't think we have to do that. If it gets worse, we'll readdress this. I'm gonna close it for now as a non-issue. Okay. Start button on overworld map to get to item loadout screen. Okay, so, Quapsel, the game designer, and I had a discussion about what we should do for the controller things, which we can address some controller controls right now. Because what we ended up finding was, well, intuitively, if we're using, right now I'm using keyboard, but let's say that was controller, and we're on the overworld map, right? The most instinctive thing to do when you want to enter a stage is to actually, you know, press the, like, the start button, right? But the start, actually I need a controller, because I think on keyboard it actually works, but I'm not sure why on controller. I think it does something different. Do I have a... Okay. I do have a USB cable. Cool. I can just plug this in. Hopefully this works. Cool. Okay. It almost works, other than the icons aren't loaded, but that's another bug we should address. Why does it take a context refresh to get the updated icons? Anyways, this is a Switch controller, so let's see here. So anyways, what we were talking about was like B is like start stage, right? But in my head, I'm like, we should be able to also press start, but start right now brings up the game menu. Like, intuitively, if I'm on this panel, then I want to go to this panel. I want to press start, but start brings up this menu. So we're thinking like, okay, well, the pause menu, do we want to move this? How do we want, this is like a controller thing, right? A controller specific issue. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's typically how it goes with like indie dev, right? It's like, there's a bunch of people have to wear a bunch of hats. In my case though, yes, I'm the one that makes it come to life, so it's my baby. But the ideas were from another person, and I got support for a lot of the assets, which is very fair. Because I just love programming, and I was willing to take on this moderately sized project. So, start button for starting a level is expected. If you have one with 4 buttons, the top button would make sense for a menu. Okay, so we're thinking of switching the pause menu to be the top button. Right now, the top button on a controller does not do anything on this menu. So we're thinking of moving the game menu to that button instead and making start advance to this screen, which it currently does not. Start does advance from this screen to level start, so which makes sense. That's intuitively what we would want. I was also considering making the start button the default for this menu instead of being over here. I think that would also be nice, because I don't think, yeah, every time we go to this menu it defaults to here, so I think going to start, well, it depends. If the start button's not disabled, so that's another thing we gotta think about. So, but let's address this first. This is very easy. So we get to look at controller code for a little bit and how the menu system stuff works. So we're gonna bring up the menu called Overworld Map menu, I think. Overworld Map level window. So every single window has controls, and you'll always find them at the bottom here. These are like the navigation rules. So you can see here we have like, this is the game menu, start stage, and they all have certain inputs assigned to them. So we wanted to make it so start stage can be done by using the top button. So right now we see game menu is game key menu. So we can actually take this and add it to here, as in we have like 2 items here now, and then reassign this to be key controller or face button up. That's what that means. So the up face button is what we're going to use now to open the game menu, which I don't know what that means for keyboard yet. I guess we're going to have to see, because it could get weird for keyboard. But yeah, that's now going to become the input for start stage. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this recompile, and then we'll take a look at that. And then from here, oh, I don't think it liked that. So it cannot convert from argument 2 from initializer list to menu input groups. So I might not know how to do that. Like, I could have, oh, I see, it's right here too. Let's take a look at this structure, because this is a very complex structure, and I've forgotten how this works. So, menu input groups. It's a standard map. And that doesn't really make sense, because standard map, the first argument, okay, we have to go in here and look at this then. Menu input groups. So menu input groups has an input group display name, which can be either a string. Well, that's the display name, right? The button name is also a string. The menu input group is an input engage group mapped to actions, which is what we were editing. The input engage group can accept an input group, and input groups have multiple keybind. Okay, so we went too far there. The input group has already been made. That was the key like face up or whatever. That's an input group. So an engage group is what we're adding to that menu. Okay. So Yeah, because we can see here's the engage group, here's what type it is, and then here's a parameter for it. So it doesn't look like we have the capability of adding more than one like this. The only other way, I think, is we add the same thing, but down here. Like, we can see it is code duplication, but we effectively do it down there too, so it looks like we didn't make a system to accept like a vector of these, which is kind of unfortunate. I could modify it to do that, but as you can see, the complexity of our key input system is already extremely high. This is not something I would like to touch right now, so I'm just gonna utilize it this way. If it gets too hard to do what we need to do, then maybe we'll consider looking at the key system and maybe modifying it. But generally, we shouldn't have to touch that. That was made long ago, which can also, you can kind of tell by how complex it is that it was not designed with the best ideas in mind. Okay, so we're here now. It does say start stage is still B. I can't hit start to start the stage though, which is interesting. It's like it didn't combine them. I also can't hit the face. Wait, did I do this wrong? Hold on. Oh, I put face up onto. Wait, yeah, that's not right, right? Game menu should be face up. This should be crud. What was it before? It was menu. Okay, I'm like, huh? We just lost a key. So the up-facing button was not working though. It's like, maybe that's not correct. What? That key is normally skill like 3 or something. Let me see. Is there a skill 3 key? I don't see one. I think it's supposed to be face up. Select key up, select scroll, key left. Yeah, it's got to be the up facing button. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I don't see anything else that makes sense here. Okay. So I'm gonna go with that. Oh. Key face up. I think it was just confused. Maybe? We'll see. I don't know how it handles multiple things being assigned to the same group. I think it like ignores them or something. Or maybe it's a map, so maybe one will overwrite the other. Now we have this problem. Function. Did I mess up the syntax here? I did. Yeah, something went wrong here. I must have done this by accident. Okay. I don't know how I did that. Wait, but if you look, now it's like this was in a list. I feel like that makes an initializer list that lets us, oh, it lets us determine if it's pressed or not. Okay. Only when it's pressed. So this is useful for like the analog controls, like shoulder buttons are analogs. I think for these, like the moment they're pressed or while they're held, it should work. I don't know. We'll see. Input system is complex. Maybe too complex for our own good. But let's try this. At least if I can address the issue, that would be nice. So we can see now start stage is mapped to 2 buttons, which is what we wanted. We can press start, or we can press the B button. Both will take us there. And if I press X now, X is now the game menu. Apparently this is X on my controller, so I'm gonna do this. My controller just has these flipped, so we have a thing for that. But yeah, that is now showing the correct things. Anyway, yeah, that's nice. I saw many projects, web dev and AI projects since before GPD. Yeah. I mean, this project would not have started without me going to my Discord and being like, hey, who's got a great idea? And then my game designer gave me one that I'm like, ooh, I'm intrigued. I like, you know, like old school action adventure RPGs, so I'm going to try and make one. I was basically like, I need a project. I need a big, long-term project that I'm willing to commit, right? So that's essentially how this all started. Okay, so the other thing I want to address is, I think if we have let's try and make the default the start button here. So let's go to the loadout window. Loadout window. And let's make the default button the start button. So inside of here, we have the ability to select what is the starting item. So right now it's loadout item 1 or component loadout item 1. So we want to change that to be the start level button component. So we're gonna just put that in there instead. And then I think what happens is we disable the start level button if we're in tutorial mode. Like this is our first time entering a level. It wants us to put an item in our item loadout slot. So we're gonna have to test that. We're gonna have to try a character that has not done a level yet, and it should require us, or it should move the default to item loadout 1. How did you land on C++? I landed on C++ because I was looking for a very simple framework to put stuff on the screen, and I ended up finding this, OLC Pixel Game Engine. Since it's written in C++, that was the language I became stuck with. I wouldn't say stuck with, more like the one I invested my time in. Because I was looking, I'm like, I tried Unity, right? I was in this like rut where I was like, I want to make games, but I don't want to use Game Maker anymore. I don't want to use Pygame anymore. Those were my first two game-ish engine frameworks I used. I want to find something that is simpler. Okay, so I was afraid of this. This doesn't have a default now. So we need to make it so it defaults here if the start button is disabled. But if the start button is enabled, which, oops, I didn't mean to go here. Okay, I'm just gonna get me out. We need a skip button for our story. I think a skip in our story would be appreciated sometimes. Or at least a fast forward. Either a fast forward or a skip. I think somebody requested that before. Anyway, oh my god. The fact we can't... Or at least a menu so we can get out of here. I didn't even think about this. We have no way to back out of this, actually. That's terrible. Terrible design. I developed a bird game. A bird game? Was it about a bird, or did the bird... Or was it like... You were shooting birds, or was it like... You were flying as a bird? Okay. Let me actually add that as an issue, because that is something we need to do. We need to make it... So two things for that. We need to make it so we can open a pause menu for stories. That's one enhancement. And then the other is skip for stories. Some kind of like skip feature, which also would be nice. Okay. So if this is unavailable, it has to choose something else. So how about if get component, is it just component? Component, yes. I don't know what this is. Is this... I don't know what start level button is. We're gonna have to look. Start level button. Start level button is just a normal menu component. This is menu item loadout window. Item loadout, comma, start level button. Okay. So we want to know if this is disabled. So is disabled. And if it is, we're going to actually use the one we had before, which was loadout item 1. Otherwise, we'll use start level button instead. Game dev is amazing. I tried to go for it, but it seemed too demanding. When I was starting, it wasn't a viable option. Oh, yeah. Well, that's cool. But it's always fascinated me. Yeah, I love making, like, little games and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Or big games, I guess. I did encounter C++ when I was a kid, because I used to play this game called BZ Flag. A long time ago. and it's an open source C++ game that was featured in like a PC World magazine like ages ago. And yeah, that was like my first few experiences with C++, but back then I was basically writing C style C++ because I had no clue how to use any of C++'s features. That project also was really large and used Boost, so Boost was a whole nother thing, but a lot of Boost gets incorporated into standard now, so that's nice. I just didn't have like the knowledge to really utilize C++ back then. Oh, Flappy Bird. Okay. Flappy Bird is a decent like starting project, yeah. I agree. Making Flappy Bird in something gives you some knowledge about how to use things in whatever engine you're using. Just like if you were to build like building Tetris, Snake, Pong, a card game like Solitaire, Klondike Solitaire are all like good projects to try and emulate. Teaches you different things. Oh, that's cool. A flying bird that you shot monsters with feathers. Cool. Yeah, kind of like an auto-scrolling shooter, right? Like a shooting game. That's cool. Okay, so now we have some logic to determine if we point to loadout item 1 or star level button. So I just want to make sure this works. And then I think we'll be happy to commit this. Oh, I was thinking more of like, you know, your classical like arcade shooter games, like side-scrolling shooters or something, or even like top-down shooter, right? That's the picture I got in my head. Okay, where's my controller? So if I go in here, the default button is start, which is I think what we want. I think by default players want to just bring in what they last had, and if they want to change their setup, they would obviously scroll up. So I think that makes more sense than what we currently have. And then, oh, game menu, yeah. I forgot, game menu has changed buttons. Then we go to like, where was it? We go to our tutorial character. And it should default to item loadout 1. Okay, it still doesn't. So we need to... I wonder if it's because it gets disabled. Well, that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's not disabled, it's just grayed out. I think that's a different variable. Okay, let's look for like grayed out or something instead of disabled. Gray is... oh, there it is. Is grayed out. Okay, disable probably means like hide the button. Like it doesn't exist. It was focused on enemy logic, but we actually finished all the monsters. So next would be the bosses, but apparently my game designer didn't quite give me all the information, so I think we'll tackle more boss stuff tomorrow. But yeah, my game designer is gonna let me know what to do about the shadow boss things, which is the next boss to implement. So they're like shadow versions of player classes. Like, so the player, as a player, you can choose to be like a warrior or a thief or a wizard or a witch, etc. Basically, the bosses you're fighting have control of those abilities. They're like player versions or enemy versions of players, right? So that's the concept, but again, he didn't give me like all the information I need to really make them. So okay, so now it defaults to here, which is what we want. And then say we do set up the loadout, and then we go here again. Now it defaults to start, which is what we want. So that's all set up. Excellent. Okay. So with those two behaviors, we can commit this and update issue number 112. So this... oh, before we do this though, let me take a look at the keyboard controls, because I put the up-facing button for controller, but what does that mean for keyboard? Because that's a whole nother thing. So we gotta check that too. So game menu is now on R. Okay, interesting. Do I like that? So now start stage is on escape or Z, which is also not what we want. Like, I wanted it on... Select is already there, so return is select, which is fine. It's like, for keyboard, it was correct, but for controller, it's not. That's interesting. So I have two options. One option is to make a specific input group for the overworld map. That basically says, okay, start stage is gonna have, or this is only for this particular menu. So that's one option. The other option is I just remove, like, escape from that key, but then that might change other controls in the game as well. So I don't think that would be wise. It's just a little tricky that we have, like... So up-facing button is R. How does that make sense? Oh, because normally it's like your big special attack. So on controller, that makes sense. So I think what we'll do, and we'll just make a key start stage. I think this is the simplest way to fix this. That way we won't have a random escape key on here, which doesn't really make sense for start stage. And then for game menu, I think escape makes sense for game menu for keyboard, just not for controller. So again, we'll probably make something that's like, overworld menu, game menu. Because it's like, this is only going to apply to the overworld menu. So this makes more sense to do specifically for this to fix this. Then we can get rid of this duplicate. Well, yeah. And make new key groups that represent just those keys. Which I guess is fine. So now, these are globals, so we're gonna have to add them to our list of keys. So we got these two keys to add. Because yeah, I was afraid that keyboard was gonna be a problem, but it's like checking between keyboard plus mouse, controller is always a pain, right? Okay, and then we have to add these to our class. Here's all of our input groups. Yeah, add two more. Like so. Okay, so now they're defined. Now we have to add what keys they have. So I think there's a function called like set up input groups or something. Let's see. Where would we... I have to find out where to initialize these, essentially. Like, add key or something. There we go. So we have add keybind. Surely we do this somewhere else. Here we go. Initialize default keybinds. Slight off-topic suggestion. You can go for making an MMORPG with Clash of Clans graphics, both game themes of Sword Art Online or World of Warcraft. Are you saying me do that? Everybody knows the meme, right? Like, making an MMO is a fool's errand. Not that it's impossible. People have done it. Indie devs have done it. Solo developers have done it, yes. But the amount of scope for that, it's like drawing an owl. I'll be honest, if I was gonna make a game that was going to be like that, I'm probably spending the next 20 years of my life working on that game before even considering release, because there's just that much to do. Seeing after making this game how much work is required to get this far content-wise, unless I use a pre-made MMORPG engine that has those features and I'm just changing the graphics and sounds, then I'm expecting it to take at least 20 years to build by myself. I am currently in the middle of development hell. Like, this is 3 years into this game with roughly a moderate-sized RPG. Like, this game probably takes 10 to 20 hours to complete. To even consider something of that scale sounds insane. Like, now that I've done this, I'm like, I understand what kind of scale we're talking about here. Also, I don't really have network experience. Like, I would probably make a local multiplayer game first to understand networking better, because I haven't actually done networking before. So I would probably want to adventure into that first. Actually, I think that's what I was talking about with Quapsel, my game designer, who's in the chat right now. Like, there's a potential to make the next game, which might be related to this game, just a random hint thrown out there, but with multiplayer. So there's potential in the future, but we'll see. 20 years, maybe. Like, if somebody takes 20 years to build a game, who's saying they're not gonna quit before then, right? Like, that's assuming it, even if somebody just dedicates their life to the game. Like, the amount of work required for something like that is absolutely insane. Like, I'm pretty sure you can make a very simple, like, network client server, talk to each other, sync some player positions, sync some enemy positions, overworld map, maybe basic attacking, chatting, probably in a couple weeks. Now try to make a game out of it. Add questing systems, add like pathing, add enemy AI, add social features, you have to add items, inventory, interactions, the list can go on, right? And that's not even talking about the actual content. Content is very expensive too. Like, oh my god, just thinking about it gives me a headache. Ooh, a turn-based board game. Fun. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so this is where I get to add in all the keys that I'm interested in putting into this input group. I don't know why it's erroring right here. No member. I thought we added these. We did. Is IntelliSense being slow? Key overworld menu, game menu. I think IntelliSense just is being slow. Anyway, so here I get to add them in. So for game menu, we want, for controller, we need Steam, we were saying up face button, which is ability. No. This is why we had this problem already. We're just saying controller, the up face button. It's not gonna be mapped to something specific to Steam. It's just gonna be for keyboard. We're doing the enter key, and then so up face button on controller, enter, no, not enter key, escape key for keyboard. I think that's it. A group or open source project. Soloing is not practical. I'm glad you at least say that. That's a very fair assessment. I've never done an open source group project before. You would need like a pretty dedicated team. Okay, that's not actually true. I've tried to do a freaking, what is it? This is like a meme in this community. An Earthbound fan game. Oh my god, you hear it all the time. I'm making an Earthbound fan game. I'm making an Earthbound fan game. People keep saying this, like regurgitating this. It's like, it never happens, and it's like a meme now. But basically, it's because people don't realize to make a functioning team that can create all the content and do all the programming for it and commit to it for months and months and even years for free is a ridiculous proposal. And like, I don't know, it's just given me a bad like taste of like open source group work, because it's like, it's not paid obviously, and if somebody comes along and is like a superstar about it, they could probably progress pretty far, but there's never any guarantees, and at any point in time, like, the project could just be abandoned, you know? And that's kind of sad. So I personally would want to work on something that I'm dedicated to, that I want to work on. And like, everybody has to be on board, right? Nobody wants to work on something they're not genuinely interested in. Right? Like, realistically, like, if you're talking like an actual game development, like production studio, like real money gets involved, like. But yeah, we just do this in our spare time. Like, this project is all free. This is a hobby project, what I'm working on right now. I've been working on it for 3 years. It would probably be done faster if I got paid. If this was my job, I would probably get it done a lot quicker. It is just wishful thinking, and I just like to be very realistic about it. I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer and shut down any ideas. Anybody that's like spouts out MMO, I'm not gonna be like, oh no, don't say that. But like, just for what I've seen and what I've done, like I wouldn't go down that path. That's pretty much all I'm saying. Is like, I probably wouldn't go down that path. I don't think it leads anywhere. If it was like an established company and they had plenty of funding and you had like, you know, a team with a vision, a good solid vision, you could probably do it. Like, just an example off the top of my head, like Hoyoverse, right? They're coming out with their like, what, 5th game now? It's like, they are doing pretty good in terms of like dishing out games that people want to play. What would it take for a minimum viable product? That's what it means, right? MVP? Like a minimum, right? I'm pretty sure that's what that means. I would say like at the very least, you would have to have like the first main version of the game. Like, let's say in this MMO, you could get to like level 50, right? So like, a minimum viable product will probably be like the first 10 or 20 levels, so you can at least have the start of like a story arc. You would have a bunch of quests already available, maybe a couple areas open, and obviously players have to be able to like communicate and exchange items, like however that works, right? Like every system needs to be in there. It needs to be a vertical slice, just without the full game, because MMO is a live model, right? Like a live service model. So you essentially need the full game regardless. The minimum viable product is whatever keeps players playing. So you already have to start a content drip the moment players are able to play your game. So minimum viable product of an MMO is literally ready for release, because you're already losing money hosting the dang thing. Which is why it's so hard to build an MMO. Like, I didn't even talk about like the costs, right? You have to host a server. You have to host probably multiple servers. You ever see like MMO launches? It's like, if it gets hype, you can potentially have hundreds of thousands of people trying to connect. And if your game was built for 1,000, you're kind of just screwed. But then after that, you don't need that many. You only have to support it for 1 day, is the thing. You only have to support it for the initial rush. After that, your sustained community drops down to like nothing. That's just the life of an MMO. It's not a very good prospect. Sadly, I used to play a lot of MMOs, and MMOs have kinda... They haven't gone stale, but they haven't gone anywhere. A lot of things in our world now eat up our time, and I notice there's a lot less people playing MMOs simply because their time is being consumed by other things. Right? So it just doesn't make sense to make an MMO unless you're just making a fun little like networked game that you can play with like your friends. That might be fun. Like, you can get like 20 people online, explore some world or something together, maybe quest a little. That to me sounds viable. Like, that's doable. But when I think MMO, I'm thinking like a bunch of players you've never seen before all connecting to your game and living and experiencing a world together. Yeah. So a lot of people don't even get into MMOs because of that reason. Alright, let me try to finish this now. Start stage. We start stage by pressing the return key, which is actually also a Steam mapping. It should be the Steam confirm key. Yes. So that should still work. And I'm specifically adding the controller start. No, just Steam confirm. I think that's all we need. Start stage, and then we need just Steam. There's one more we have to add. Red. Menu pause? I guess I am not familiar with what these are. I might have to look this up because I do have these. I forget. Let me see. So in here, for those that are unsure how this works, controllers in the Steam API have a mapping, and if you go to edit layout, you can see basically you have all these commands. So you can see here we have like every single command available that can be mapped to a button specified right here. Now, of course, Steam API also lets you just put whatever here, and then the game will respect that because it's just built in like that. But there's like these built-in actions that you're supposed to map to keys so you can do stuff. So that's essentially what I'm looking at right now. So by default, if I'm just looking at the default buttons, then start stage should be like the start button. So I need to look at that. Start button is menu/pause. So I assume that's what my menu pause enum maps to. So Rockstar has been working on GTA 6 for more than 10 years. The budget is massive, for sure. And a lot of these games, like, you're like, oh man, these multi-billion-dollar companies put in this much time and money into it. Realistically, what is one solo developer going to be able to accomplish, right? So that's why I chose this project, though. This is a long-term project for me. It results in about 10 to 15 hours of gameplay. It's a cutesy little game. It's very much in scope for a long-term project for an individual. So these are just things I have to think about before I commit to a project long-term. Now, did I intend for it to go over 2 years? No. But that's what always happens too. You have to think your developer gets burnt out, or life happens, or you get demotivated, right? So you have to account for that as well. That's why I lose a year, because I just needed a break. It's almost like I'm a single programmer. There you go. Yeah, that's how it works. So long-term commitment is very hard for everybody. No matter how strong you think you are, right? You are human after all, and you're going to want to do other things. You're going to want to take breaks. You're going to need breaks. In fact, I would argue I code better now that I only code a couple hours per day, and not on weekends. I used to do this like 7-8 hours a day at least. It burned me out so fast. I was wishing I was able to just do other stuff. Like, it got to that point. So it becomes unhealthy. And that's another factor. There's a real life factor to it. I don't know why compiler thinks... Maybe it's just because I'm running the game. IntelliSense just is not running. Okay. Let me go ahead and compile this, and I'm just going to see what happens. Because I think I implemented everything. I've just been yapping for a while, but it's been fun to talk about this. I love talking... I love talking to people about this stuff. It's fun. My project is long-term too? Nice. Yeah, like, I think it's good to have like a project you can really invest your time in, and I'm glad I get to share it with you all and stream all this. Like, literally it's been 400 something days since I started this project, and yeah, it's just, you get to see it evolve and develop over time. It becomes my little baby. I just love that. It's fun. And like, I think it's pretty cool to be able to say I've made a project that now has over 45,000 lines of code in it that I've basically handmade. Like, it's just an awesome thing to be able to say, right? Like, no matter who says it, no matter what language or project you're working on, that kind of thing is impressive. Like, I love it when I get to hear those kinds of stories from other developers. Like, I've been working on this little project for forever. I love to see that. That shows passion and dedication and just love for programming. Okay, failed. Why are we failing? Tell me. Not a member of player. I swore we put this in here. Like, I can point to it. I'm pretty sure. Oh, it's not a member of player? Is that where it's supposed to be? Did I like put something else? Like, did I put player? Oh no, don't tell me I have to like... Oh, I did put player here. Okay. So apparently I put some keybinds in the player class specifically. That's interesting. I get, yeah, because they're related to the player, like ability, keys, defense. Okay, that makes more sense. I see what I did there. That's very fair. Okay. Anyway, we made our own custom keybinds. I feel like this system, the reason why it got so complex was the moment I tried to implement the Steam API. It's like, once you have to comply with some other API, you have to build wrappers around it, you have to figure out how it integrates with your systems, like... It was a very fun experiment to try to implement somebody else's library into my game, because it gave me, like, kind of like that more real-world experience that I don't really get as a hobbyist programmer of, like, somebody else wrote code, now you have to use it. So I think that's always fun to try and... It makes for a fun programming challenge. Okay, so... I see here Start Stage still has this button, which is correct. And it does have this button. Strangely, it doesn't show up in the list. And Game Menu has nothing on it now, even though... Okay, well... So the Face Up button does not work at all. That's interesting. Oh, I probably have to add it on the Steam part as well. We only use the controller enum when it doesn't detect Steam API. So there's like... There's two controller APIs in my game. One is the old, like... I call it the... Or it's called OLC PegX Gamepad. It's an extension for the Pixel game engine built by a community member that essentially provides open source support for game controllers you plug in. Unfortunately, it doesn't support every controller, and like new stuff pops up every once in a while, and this is all like system level code, so you can imagine like it's very hard to add new stuff to it. So that's why I switched to Steam, because Steam provides like a more modern API, as in like it provides more compatibility because it's Steam and everybody uses Steam, so they get a lot more, they can update a lot faster. They have a team for this, right? It's not a hobby thing, so that's why I switched to it. Obviously, it adds a lot more complexity because layers upon layers upon layers of extra code to add. So I think for this, it would be, I assume ability 4. We had to double check. I have to pull up that list again. Steam. Let me just pull up my demo, because it's not going to have changed from my demo. If I go to controller properties, and we go in here, or it just closes, okay. I mean, that's cool. Alright, so... Menu and pause is this key, but I'm looking for... So the X button is normally mapped to menu function 2 and usability 1. So we can say menu function 2 then. That would be fine. I just need to know what button that would be precisely. So function 2. Cool. So that's what we got. I think that's all we have to do there. Let me try it again. Okay, let's see here. Ooh. It's getting a little late. We'll have to call it soon, but we've just been working on a side issue, like things that I've just been like trying to figure out for quite a while, right? We'll just make sure this works, and I think it's time to call it for today. It's really rewarding to work on a long-term project. I agree. It really is. The relentless debugging, but being able to show off like, hey, this is what I've done, like I can call all this my own, is amazing, right? There we go. Now we got game menu popping up right, we got start stage popping up right, everything's perfect. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll go ahead and commit this, and I'll make sure the tests run and everything, and I'll call it good. But it is getting late, so I'm gonna call it there. I think Quapso is gonna send me more boss stuff tomorrow, so maybe we'll go back to working on that. Or we can address more issues that I've been meaning to work on for a while, so either way, we can choose our path tomorrow. Or no, maybe not tomorrow. I think I'm busy tomorrow, but soon. I told everybody this week, like, I'm gonna be a little busy with other projects, so yeah. But anyways, for those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed. It's been a fun programming session, working on things little by little. Yeah. So take care, everyone. It's been fun discussing too. Until next time, bye-bye.